Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. Today I'm going to talk about everyday frugality, those everyday frugal habits that you don't really notice that you're doing and that will save you money over time and kind of get you into a frugal mindset. I think it's quite good to get into a frugal mindset because it then tends to spill over into all areas of your life. I was thinking about this morning because Izzy, my youngest daughter, bought back from her home, she came to stay for a bit, a load of just overripe bananas. She said, I'm not going to eat them. I realised I'm not going to eat them, so I bought them home. So she's obviously kind of tipped over towards her as well, these everyday frugal actions. She didn't think to waste them. She didn't have time to freeze them, so she bought them home because she knew that I'd stick them in the freezer. So I peeled them, chopped them up, froze them on a tray, and they're in little old takeaway boxes in the freezer for next time I'm making a cake maybe, or some banana cookies, or perhaps I'll make some smoothies, those kind of things. So rather than wasting them, we use them. So those kind of things are just kind of automatic. I don't even think about them much. I just think, well, that's a job to do, and it's not an effort. It's just I've got so much into the habit of it. So I thought I would go through a list of everyday frugal habits that I have got into. And please do, at the end of the video, leave yours in the comments. That would be brilliant to hear what everybody else does, and we can learn from each other. And don't forget to like and subscribe too. Anyway, let's go. I'm going to look down because I've got a list. So it's a really rainy day today. As you know, the UK weather is very fickle, particularly at the moment. It's been so wet for months and months and months, and we've had some lovely, glorious days over the last week or so, and today is just endless rain. So me and Archie went out this morning. I stupidly washed my hair, straightened it, went out in the rain, came back, had to straighten it again. Daft, but it was horrible, absolute horizontal rain into my face, which is not great. And I had a load of washing that I'd put on before I left. So that is going to go on the airer. As soon as I finish this video, I will automatically put washing either outside on the line if it's a nice day or on an airer. I wouldn't consider putting it into a dryer. I don't have a dryer. If I did have a dryer that was just here, I wouldn't use it. I just would try and dry everything as much as possible on the airer, so I'm not using energy unnecessarily. So that's the first of my frugal habits. And then, talking of laundry still, filling up the washing machine. So I did a really full load this morning. I don't just wash one or two things. I will, if I had one or two things to wash, I'd wash them by hand. So I will always fill up, make sure, I think all the towels need doing while I'm there. I'll just shove those in as well, fill up the washing machine. You don't want to run it and use the energy if you haven't got a full load. So that's another thing I do. And also just wear things that are actually dirty. I've talked about this before. If you've just popped a top on for a couple of hours in the afternoon, then the chances are that's going to be fine to wear again the next day rather than washing it. It's also better for the item of clothing as well. It doesn't get so faded, it doesn't get bashed around by your washing machine, so it will last longer. So filling up the washing machine and only washing things that really need washing, that's tip 2. And then similarly, with the dishwasher, if you run a dishwasher, make sure it's full. Don't just turn it on with just half a day's things. You know, either wash those things by hand or leave it for the following day's breakfast things and then fill it up. I hardly use our dishwasher. It was here when we came. I don't particularly think it's a great dishwasher anyway, but you know, just for the two of us, mostly it's quicker just to wash things up and put them away and then they're done. So that's what I will tend to do. And then, especially at this time of year, I have mentioned I love a long bath. I get very achy and I find a lovely long bath is so therapeutic. However, I try to use the shower, and there's no excuse now the weather's warmer for me to get in a bath instead of the shower. Quick shower instead of a long bath. It saves money heating the water and it saves on water itself. And then talking of water and energy, only filling the kettle with enough water to do whatever you need the boiling water for. So usually it's making cups of tea and coffee, for me anyway. So I make sure I just boil what I need. I don't boil a whole kettle and just use a cupful. That's just kind of really wasteful of water and wasteful mostly of energy. My next one is using products up. So if you've bought something, use them to the end, get every last bit out. I've got a little thing of hand cream by my sink at the moment, so I've cut the top off so I can get to the last of that hand cream. Use everything up. Don't get bored with the product and sling it out or leave it at the back of the cupboard and start using a new one. My kids used to do that when they were younger. You'd get some new shampoo and conditioner and they'd see that and open that and use that because it looked more exciting than the old one, rather than using the very last of the old products and turning them upside down and getting it all out. Those kind of things that I used to drum into them. So use up all of your products. That could also be things like cleaning products. I did a cleaning video the other day. You may have seen it, where I was making some eco-friendly and frugal products to use the kitchen, but I will still be using some of the old shop bought ones that are still sitting in my cupboard. That needs to sort out that cupboard. Use everything up. Even DIY products, we've got bits of pots of paint in the garage, and I'm always thinking, well, when I start a new project, can I use some of those old bits of paint? Can I, lighten paint with some white paint if I've got too dark green or too bright pink in my case? Can I lighten it and then can I use it? Use things up, and then you don't have to buy new ones. So obviously it's going to save you money. Again, with products, just use what you need for the job. So do you need to put a massive handful of shampoo in your hand to wash your hair? Depends on the length of your hair, of course, especially if you've got short hair. You just need a tiny bit of shampoo to wash your hair. Do you need to blast your whole bath with half a thing of Radox? Just use what you need to use for the job. Same with washing up liquid. Just give it a quick squirt. You don't need to use half a bottle washing up a bowl of washing up stuff. And another one of my everyday frugal actions is to try to walk rather than drive to the shop. So if I need something from our local shop, or if I need to pop down to the doctor's, I'll try not to take the car and I'll walk. And quite often if Justin's with me, we can double up and walk the dog at the same time, so less effort. So try to walk, or if you've got a bike, cycle for short journeys rather than getting in the car. And then on the subject of the car, if you do need to go out in your car, try to do all of the errands that you might need to do. So do you need to collect a prescription? Do you need to pop in for some milk? Do you need to go to the post office? Do you need to pick up some cash? Whatever you need to do, try and do it all in one journey to save on petrol. Another one of my frugal habits is just to check very regularly in the fridge what needs using up. Is there any bread sitting around? I'll have that for my lunch. Is there an end of cheese? I'll try and use that up. Using up the ends of things. The other day we had some little tiny bit of leftover sauce from a dish that I'd made, and it was really delicious. And I thought, well, I'm not chucking away the end of this sauce. So I put it in the fridge, and then yesterday I realised that we were making another chicken dish and it didn't have a sauce, so I mixed that on it and used it up. I could have frozen it, but I suspected I would use it. So it's good to freeze leftovers of kind of bits of sauce and gravy and that sort of thing. Label them though, so you know what those things are lurking in the back of your freezer. So as well as using up the leftovers and things that are kind of again towards the end of their use by date that are in your fridge, make sure that when you're not going to use them, you freeze anything. So like I said about the gravy, the sauces, the bananas when Izzy bought them back, anything that you've got sitting around, if you think, I'm not going to use those peppers, they're getting a bit wrinkly, chop them up, stick them in the freezer. They'll be really handy to chuck into a spaghetti bolognese or some other dish when you're cooking. So freeze anything that you're not going to use up, even if it's the end of the milk. Maybe you're going on holiday and haven't used all your milk up, stick the end of it in the freezer. Milk freezes really well. Bread freezes well. Anything like that. Bread ends, I freeze all of the bread ends, and every now and then I'll bring them out and make a bread pudding because that's Justin's favourite. And even though it's not particularly a lovely spring, luckily we're not really having to use the heating. But when you do have to use heating, before you automatically go and stick your heating on, just put some layers on. So cooler days, it's cooler today, I've got a vest on, I've got a sweatshirt on. I'm not going to go and put the heating on or stick the fire on or anything like that. So wear layers, layer up. You can take layers off as you need to and put them back on to keep yourself warm. So wear layers on cooler days. Plan your meals, do a bit of meal planning. So I don't just do this once a week. I do it for the main meals once a week, then I go shopping, do a shopping list, but I also tend to plan ahead and think ahead for lunches and breakfasts. So, I'm already thinking those bananas that I've stuck in the freezer, I might make a smoothie this week, so I'll have to remember to get some out. So all the time meal planning and just get into the habit of doing that and thinking about, you know, what you're going to eat for the week and making sure you're using things that need using up first, things in the back of your cupboard. Have you had a load of pasta sitting around for ages? Do you need to circulate that and plan some pasta into your meals? You know, do a bit of meal planning. It will save you money. It'll stop you wasting things. And I mentioned doubling up on journeys to go to the shops if you need things like milk. But the other thing that I really have to watch myself doing and stop myself doing is popping to the shop too often. So I'll try to make sure that I do everything and buy everything that we need for the week when I do the weekly shop. But if I need to go to the shop and I pop in too often, what I'll tend to do is be tempted by other things. So one of my new frugal habits is not to go to the shop too often. And because I track my spending, I can see if I'm doing it. So I can put the brakes on, stop myself just popping in, getting this, getting that, and find that I've added £20 to our weekly shopping bill. And talking of shopping, another habit to get out of rather than into is scrolling through social media and online shopping sites when you just are bored. You know, just don't scroll through them. I'm a terrible person for doing this with Vinted because I've got stuff for sale. I'll pop on there and think, oh, somebody's favorited one of my items. I'll send them an offer, try and get rid of the said item. But then I think, oh, look, Vinted is presenting me with these things that may be of interest. I'll have a look at those. So that's a habit to get out of. Not scrolling through unnecessarily when you don't need to buy something, not just on Vinted, on eBay, on anywhere where you regularly shop and you might have the shopping app open. Delete some of those shopping apps if you don't need them, delete newsletters and that kind of thing, so that you're not tempted to shop online. It's really, really such an easy habit to get into. So that could be a habit to get out of. Don't just scroll through mindlessly and buy stuff. Another one of my frugal habits is to reuse scrap paper. So I always use the backs of envelopes, any bits of paper we get through the door that aren't important, I'll cut them up and I make little pads with them like this. So, and use a bulldog clip. And that's really handy for a shopping list or a to-do list or whatever. So use scrap paper, reuse envelopes. I always, if they've got a big envelopes or just a good envelope with it, maybe somebody else's return address, a company's return address, but I can stick a label over that and it's still got the sticky on the back. So reusing envelopes, reusing scrap paper. You can even use the cereal boxes. They make really, really good shopping lists because you don't have to lean on anything, I find. So if you chop up cereal boxes, you can make really good shopping lists or to-do lists with those. Reuse plastic bags. So I talked about cereal boxes just now. The plastic bags that are in cereal boxes are really, really strong and really worth saving. So I reuse those. If I pick up apples or bananas that happen to be in a plastic bag, then I'll just cut the top off them and I've got a drawer full of them and I'll reuse those. You know, you need a plastic bag every now and then, saves you having to buy one. I also reuse butter pots. I don't buy my butter, margarine pots really. Don't buy my butter in plastic pots, but if I buy margarine, I'll keep those pots and reuse them for making soup or storing leftovers or freezing things. Anything, if girls ever get a takeaway and it's in those plastic boxes with the lids, they make really, really good boxes to put in the freezer. So I keep those. Yogurt pots, reuse those so I can either store things in them or I've made little holes in them and used them to start off seedlings as well. It's the other thing you can do. So reusing anything like that. The trays, plastic trays that mushrooms come in, you can make little holes in and start your seedlings off in those as well. So reuse any plastic packaging that you get in your house. Oh, the other thing I haven't mentioned is that I reuse boxes because obviously I sell stuff. You know, if you watch my videos, that I sell stuff online. I have an eBay shop and I would never throw a box away or put it in the recycling. So I even reuse my neighbours' boxes actually because I wouldn't want to buy boxes. So I have a load of boxes that I reuse, packaging, things like bubble wrap, bits of paper you get in Amazon boxes to pad things out, that kind of thing. Reuse all those. They're really, really useful. You can actually open out that brown paper that Amazon use and use it to wrap presents. Somebody did that on my Facebook group the other day and did it with a bit of coloured string and it looked really nice. And Lots of other people say they do the same, so you can just kind of iron it out and use it as wrapping paper rather than putting it straight into your recycling. Save on wrapping paper as well. Another one, and the last on my list for now, is to avoid using the oven. That's become a frugal habit, particularly since energy prices have got so expensive. So I now always use my air fryer. If I'm making a casserole, I'll use the slow cooker. If I can microwave something, then I'll microwave it. So I've got those other things that I can use instead of running the oven. And if I do use the oven, I fill it up. So that's another frugal habit. If I know there's one thing going in the oven, I'll look at any other option rather than using the oven. And something else you will have noticed from my list of everyday frugal habits is that a lot of them are eco-friendly. So you can develop a more sustainable lifestyle by being more frugal. These things go hand in hand. I've mentioned this before and I'm sure you'll agree. So it's really good for the planet as well as for your wallet. So please do share in the comments, what are your everyday frugal habits? So we're not talking big things that you've done to save money. We're talking little things that you do every day that will save you money. Maybe you reuse your tea bags. That's not something I do very often because I like a really strong cup of tea, so nobody wants the second use of my tea bag. But maybe you squish your soap bits together to make a new bar of soap, those kind of things. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit your notifications bell so you know next time I am about to publish a video. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit your notifications bell as well so you know next time I'm uploading a video. This dog is not going to let me do this. I've tried this 15 times.